During my high school years, I was very passionate about helping other people, and I went to Russia when I was 15, and we went to work with orphans in Moscow. When I got back from Russia, the beginning of my senior year, I was on the high school dance team, and they brought in a physician to do routine physicals for all of the athletes. And the physician heard a murmur.
The murmur was actually something very serious. During her mission trip to Russia, Becky had actually contracted rheumatic fever, which often has the same symptoms as a common cold, and the infection seriously affected her heart.
It turned out to be severe mitral regurgitation, which means that my valve opens and closes. There's a lot of blood that is rushing through that shouldn't be rushing through. I needed to be really careful. I could not get my heart rate up because my valve could barely keep up with just a normal heart rate. And so it meant that I could no longer dance. They also told me that not to get pregnant. They said that being pregnant would be too much stress on my heart and would be fatal.
Becky received an implanted defibrillator, which would shock her heart into a stable rhythm if she ever went into cardiac arrest. Over the next several years, Becky's defibrillator would save her life 14 times.
A few years later is when I met the love of my life.
We started dating in 2006. I already knew she had a heart condition because she had shared that pretty early in the relationship. We got married, I guess, about a year and a half later. I knew it was going to be a difficult path with Becky, but I was in love.
I remember when they told me that I would not be able to have children, and I was devastated. I'd always wanted to be a mom. And on April 5th this year, I adopted a beautiful, beautiful little girl. We named her Eliana. She's perfect. We've prayed for a healthy baby. That was our biggest prayer. And so we do hope that, she has a healthy, full life. I am hoping through the work of the Heart Association and through generosity of people that we can figure out why I continue to go into cardiac arrest, that we can figure out a way for maybe me to not live on so many medications that make me feel pretty crummy. I know my future holds more surgeries. I just had one a week and a half ago to replace the battery on my device. But I have a reason to live a long time. I have a daughter to live for now. Hi, my name is Becky, and recently we celebrated my daughter's first birthday. We didn't get to celebrate, of course, the way we wanted to with friends and family, but we did through Zoom. I really don't mind sharing my story for the American Heart Association because they funded the research that's behind the device that keeps me alive. In fact, my defibrillator went off again in this past October 10th. It was one day after my husband and I celebrated our 10-year wedding anniversary, and one day before we were supposed to be in Fort Worth to finalize our adoption with Eliana. My device did its job. It shocked me actually 2 times to get me back and to get me onto a healthy rhythm. We were not able to go to the courthouse for adoption day and finalize our adoption, but the judge was really kind and allowed us to do it virtually from the hospital room. As you can imagine, the uncertainty of my heart condition is a lot on just a normal day. But now with this pandemic and knowing that I'm at higher risk of having a serious illness or a serious complication if I get COVID-19, it's a scary time. I find comfort in the work of the Heart Association. When everything else came to a complete halt, the work of the Heart Association did not stop. They continued to talk about how important it is for us to take care of ourselves, even more so now, right? And they are also finding ways to fund research on how COVID is impacting people like me with heart disease or with brain disease. That's also why it's more important now than ever that we make sure that their work is able to continue. Thank you to the American Heart Association for keeping me alive, no biggie. And thank you to those of you who personally support the American Heart Association, because they wouldn't be able to save lives if it weren't for you. So thank you. And you guys please take care.